Takeoff's death in 2022, XXXTentacion's murder in 2018, Tupac's gunning down back in 1996. These were all a result of a dangerous and violent culture that has now become an ugly part of rap. Rappers aren't safe anywhere, and sometimes the very streets they grew up in can turn against them. From Nipsey Hussle and XXXTentacion to some of Eminem's closest friends, let's look at some of the rappers that were killed in their own cities. Number 1. Nipsey Hussle. One of the biggest names the underground circuit has seen in quite some time. Nipsey Hussle was gunned down in his hometown of LA near a clothing store he owned on March 31st, 2019. Nipsey was well on his way to mainstream stardom when the shooting happened, having collaborated with more than a dozen industry-leading artists, including Kendrick Lamar, Drake, YG, Ty Dolla $ign, Meek Mill, and Young Thug, by the time he was 33. The murder of Nipsey sent shockwaves through his family and local community, as the aspiring artist was also well known in the community for his philanthropy and as a vocal voice against gang violence. Following his death, Nipsey Hussle was posthumously awarded a humanitarian award at the following BET Awards ceremony, along with the Best Male Hip Hop Artist Award. Celebrities including J. Cole, Ice Cube, Drake, and even LeBron James expressed their sadness and said their goodbyes, with J. Cole calling Nipsey a legend and saying this about the rapper: "Nipsey, you a legend. I respect and admire your career path and what you did for the neighborhood. My heart broke today when I saw the news. I'm praying for your loved ones. This was supposed to be the year we got one in. God had bigger plans for you." Number 2. XXXTentacion. Jahseh Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy, best known by his stage name XXXTentacion, needs no introduction. The young aspiring rapper quickly rose to fame after his song Look at Me went viral on SoundCloud in 2016. From his first viral song at just 18 years old to topping the Billboard 100 just 2 years later, XXXTentacion saw a level of success that not many in the industry could claim to have experienced. His raw and intense music, filled with emotional depth as he tackled topics like depression, suicide, and anxiety, resonated with a lot of his younger audience and made him insanely famous in younger circles. An apparent robbery, however, cut the young artist's story short, as XXXTentacion was gunned down on June 18, 2018, as he left a motorsports store in Deerfield Beach, Florida. The men responsible for the shooting were convicted later that year. The shooters, aged between 28 and 24, were found guilty of first-degree murder and armed robbery, with reports stating that they would receive a life sentence at a later date. Some of the biggest names in the industry, including Kanye West, Tyga, Juicy J, and Big Sean, mourned the loss of XXXTentacion and tweeted about the loss the music world had to face. Shortly before his death, XXXTentacion released a video saying, "If I'm going to die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life has made at least 5 million kids happy. Gone too soon." Number 3. Lil Lonnie. Best known for his single Colors and his viral mixtape They Know What's Going, Mississippi rapper Lil Lonnie, real name Lonnie Taylor, was shot to death while driving home on April 29th, 2018. According to a witness statement, Lonnie was driving home with an unidentified female passenger when shots were fired from the rear. After Lonnie was hit, his car ended up crashing into a nearby house. Lonnie was declared dead once police arrived at the scene. The female passenger, however, was unharmed. Witness reports state that Lonnie has spent his final moments trying to protect the passenger. A year after Lonnie's murder, in April of 2019, the Jackson Police Department announced that 2 suspects, Antoine Carr and Monya Davis, both 21, had been arrested in Texas and charged with murder. Antoine Carr and Monya Davis were later sentenced to life in prison. Lil Lonnie's death took a heavy toll on his family, as the 22-year-old rapper was saving up to buy his family a house and was once taking care of his father. During the murder sentencing in 2021, Lil Lonnie's dad refused to be present, saying that the emotional toll was too much for him. Number 4. Big L. Lamont Coleman, better known as Big L, was an underground rap artist hailing from Harlem, New York. In the 1990s, Coleman was best known for his phenomenal wordplay and freestyling abilities, with writers at All Music, Hip Hop DX, and The Source praising him for his lyrical abilities, and Funkmaster Flex going as far as saying, "Coleman scared me to death. When I heard on tape, I was scared to death. I said, yo, it's no way I can compete if this is what I gotta compete with." Unfortunately, Coleman was gunned down just a few years after his debut album, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, was released. Gunned down in the same neighborhood where he spent all his life, Big L was shot 9 times in his East Harlem neighborhood, later dying from his injuries. Big L's death shocked everyone, as the 24-year-old rapper was just on the verge of making it big and signing a deal with Rockefeller Records. In fact, Big L was the one that introduced Jay-Z to rap circles. Unfortunately, like most high-profile murders, Big L's case was never formally solved. The man suspected to be responsible for the shooting, however, Gerard Woodley, a close friend of Big L's brother, Leroy Big Lee Finanzi, died on June 24th, 2016. Gerard's motives were never really found. However, it is believed that Gerard had a falling out with the Colemans and was just jealous of Big L's success. Number 5. Soulja Slim. The Tupac of New Orleans, Soulja Slim, became the victim of a violent shooting after he was gunned down in front of a 2-story duplex he purchased for his mother. According to police reports, Soulja Slim was shot at least 3 times in the face and once in the chest. The shooting occurred on November 26, 2003, and even now, 20 years later, no one has been convicted. A man by the name of Jarrell Smith was arrested following Slim's murder. However, he was later released. Interestingly, Jarrell was killed too sometime later. Soulja Slim was best known for his track Slow Motion, released in 2004. Slow Motion went on to be #1 on the Billboard 100, following a rise in popularity after Soulja Slim's death. Soulja Slim is also the only rap artist that rap labels No Limit and Cash Money collaborated on. Jarrell Smith was involved in 3 more murders after Soulja Slim's death. However, each time, the case was dropped due to lack of evidence. Speculation around Jarrell's involvement in Soulja Slim's murder rose even further when it was discovered that the bullets used to shoot Soulja Slim were fired from a stolen police pistol that was recovered from Jarrell Smith. Despite the new evidence, the case had to be dropped as no one was willing to testify against Jarrell Smith. Rapper Juvenile, real name Terrius Gray, who was super close to Soulja Slim and collabed with him on Slow Motion, said this on Vlad TV when asked about Jarrell's involvement in the murder. "We ain't gonna do that one either. I'm still in the city, bro. I'm still riding through the city, and I don't like saying people's names and putting people out. I don't like doing that. That's dangerous." Number 6, Camouflage. Murdered in a drive-by shooting that happened in May 2003, Camouflage, or Jason Johnson, was a 21-year-old rapper best known for his songs Cut Friends and Laying My Stunt Down. Like most rappers that become the victim of such tragedies, Jason too was on the verge of his big break. Jason was very active in the community and had recently signed a deal with Universal Records when the shooting happened. The loss of the young Savannah-based rapper was felt heavily by everyone. Hundreds of people came out to pay their respects. Jason was famous for dressing up as Santa and getting gifts for people living in housing projects. By all accounts, he was a great guy. Unfortunately, a senseless act of violence cut his life short. At the time of his shooting, Jason was walking back home with his toddler son straight from his grandma's house. Luckily, Jason's son was unharmed despite the tragic death of his father. There are speculations that Jason was shot in response to 2 shootings that he was allegedly involved in. However, since he was never formally charged, there's no concrete proof of this. Number 7, Bankroll Fresh. Atlanta rapper Bankroll Fresh was shot outside the Street Exec studio on March 4th, 2016. Bankroll was a big name in the Atlanta underground trap game. His murder came as a shock to everyone he knew, and what's even more shocking was how 2 years later, it was revealed that Bankroll was actually shot in self-defense. Following Bankroll's death in 2016, a police investigation concluded that Bankroll might actually have been the aggressor in the situation. Another person was killed in the altercation. However, their name was not revealed to the public. Another interesting update came when fellow Atlanta rapper No Plug confessed on an episode of Vlad TV that he had been the one to shoot Bankroll. Despite his confession, however, no arrests were ever made. Rappers from the studio where Bankroll was killed expressed their condolences, with rapper 2 Chainz saying this: "Man, I'm a fan of bruh, and always will be. I'm in shock at the moment. Senseless deaths, we just gotta stop it. I'm speaking up now." Number 8, Chinx. Rapper Chinx, real name Lionel Pickens, was an up-and-coming rapper signed with French Montana to join his Coke Boys crew. Just before the release of his debut album, however, Chinx became the victim of a violent shooting on May 17, 2015. Just a few blocks from his house, Chinx was driving home in his Porsche when he was shot, leading to his death. Chinx was alive when paramedics arrived. However, he died later in the hospital. Another man that was heavily injured in the gunfight survived, and as for the assailants, they were arrested in December 2017. Long Island residents Jamar Hill, 26, and Quincy Hamir, 32, were convicted of the crime and faced charges including second-degree murder, second-degree attempted murder, first-degree assault, and second-degree criminal possession of a weapon. According to an NYPD official, the murder was motivated by a feud between Chinx and Hamir, which started almost half a decade ago, when Chinx and Hamir were locked up in jail together. The feud resurfaced in 2015 after a verbal altercation took place between the two at a Chinx performance at the South Garden Hall in Philadelphia. Following the altercation, Hamir tracked Chinx's location via an Instagram post and followed him to a red light, where he shot Chinx using a 9mm. Number 9, Fat Pat and Big Hawk. Houston's very own Screwed Up Clique's Fat Pat was shot to death in his hometown at the age of 27. After Fat Pat's unfortunate death, his brother Big Hawk decided to step back from the violence surrounding rap culture and instead tried his best to be a safe haven for other young rappers. If anyone needed guidance, help, or leadership, they looked up to Big Hawk. As a mentor for young rappers within the Screwed Up Clique, Big Hawk became known as a 5-star general. Despite his nonviolent nature and his love for peace, Big Hawk was gunned down on May 3rd, 2006, outside his friend's apartment, where he was later pronounced dead at 36. No official motive was identified by police, however, and officially the case is still unsolved. One of Big Hawk's close friends had this to say about the murder. It's got to be either a case of mistaken identity or an attempted robbery by somebody who didn't realize who they were robbing. Hawk was all about positivity and bringing people together. Number 10. Slim Duncan. Probably one of the craziest reasons someone was killed. Atlanta rapper Slim Duncan was shot after an argument that started over a piece of candy on December 11, 2011. According to witness statements, Slim Duncan grabbed a piece of candy from another man, which led to an argument, and then later, a fistfight. The unfortunate fight ended with Slim being shot in the chest and then later dying after he was transported to a nearby hospital. Slim Duncan was one of Waka Flocka Flame's childhood friends and started his rap career by appearing on Waka's debut studio album, Flockavelli, in 2010. Duncan's profile status as a rapper went up as a member of Gucci Mane's Brick Squad 1017. That same year, went viral with the song Twitter That. The person responsible for shooting Slim Duncan, Vincent Hardiman, aka Young Vito, was found not guilty of murder as police could not find the murder weapon. Multiple witness reports, however, pointed to Young Vito being the killer. Young Vito was later found guilty of aggravated assault and possession of a handgun. As a result, Fulton County Superior Court Judge Craig Schwall sentenced Hardiman to 25 years in prison. Number 11. Lil Jojo. 18-year-old Lil Jojo was a rival of one of the biggest names in the Chicago rap scene, Chief Keef. Everyone in the street knew that Jojo was with Chicago street gang Gangsta Disciples and was mostly known for his diss track BDK, or Black Disciple Killers. The track was aimed at fellow Chi-Town rappers Lil Durk, Chief Keef, and Keef's associate Lil Reese, who were affiliated with the Black Disciple gang. On September 4th, 2012, tragedy struck when young Jojo was shot after posting a tweet tagging his location. The shooting was carried out by an unknown assailant in his Southside Chicago neighborhood. Following Lil Jojo's death, the Gangsta Disciples changed their name to JoJo World to honor the passing away of their member. Interestingly, Lil Jojo's murder happened at the time when tensions were at an all-time high between him and Chief Keef. To make matters worse, Chief Keef took to Twitter shortly after Lil Jojo's death and tweeted, "Ha ha 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 ha, rich." And it's sad because that Jojo wanted to be just like us, LMAO. After receiving backlash from his fans, Chief Keef said that his Twitter account was hacked. That said, Chief Keef still hasn't deleted the tweets. Police reports suggest that Lil Jojo's death was related to at least 2 other gang-related murders in the area. An investigation into Chief Keef's involvement in the crime was also carried out. However, there was no real evidence to suggest that Chief Keef had anything to do with Lil Jojo's death. Number 12. Proof. Rapper Deshaun Dupree Holton, who went by the alias Proof, was one of the best-known MCs in Detroit history. Proof was part of Eminem's band D12 and one of his closest friends. On April 11, 2006, Proof got into an altercation with another man named Keith Bender during a pool game at the CCC nightclub, located on 8 Mile Road in Detroit. The altercation resulted in Bender firing a warning shot and Holton shooting him in the head in response to the warning shot. After Holton had shot Bender, Bender's cousin, Mario Etheridge, shot Holton once in the head and twice in his chest. Bender died on the spot. However, Holton survived and then met his demise 8 days later in the hospital. Holton's death took a big toll on Eminem and launched him into an era of severe drug abuse, which almost resulted in him dying from a drug overdose. Some fans speculate that one of Eminem's videos actually predicted Proof's murder. A scene from Eminem's 2004 single, Toy Soldiers, shows Proof getting caught in gunfire. This scene closely resembles the best account of what happened that unfortunate night. Number 13. Lil Snoop. Darren Ross, known professionally as Lil Snoop, was a teenage MC from Jonesboro, Louisiana, signed to Rick Ross's protege, Meek Mills. Snoop was full of promise and impressed Meek Mills with his lyrical abilities and East Coast flow. The young rapper was destined for greatness. However, on June 20th, 2013, 18-year-old Lil Snoop's story was cut short, as he was killed after being shot twice in the chest just 20 miles from his hometown. The shooter, Tony Holden, later turned himself into the police and was charged with first-degree murder, armed robbery, and illegal possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Ballistic evidence, however, didn't match the firearm that Holden submitted, and the case is still unsolved. Lil Snoop's mother had this to say about the case. "I just think they're lazy. It's a prejudice issue. We're a small town, and it's just another African American dead. A lot of evidence was messed up. They actually robbed the apartment where Snoop was killed. Nothing was ever done about that, so they could have tampered with evidence. They didn't protect the scene, and they didn't put forth effort to find out what happened to my son." Number 14. Freaky Tah. Lost Boys rapper Talik Raymond Rogers, aka Freaky Tah, was gunned down while leaving his friend Mr. Cheek's birthday party on March 28, 1999. At the time of the shooting, Freaky Tah was driving back to his hotel along with 2 of his friends, William Brown and Thomas Roman. As Freaky Tah entered the hotel, a man by the name of Kelvin Jones shot him. Kelvin belonged to an up-and-coming rap group, the Hellraisers, and Freaky Tah wasn't the first person that had died as a result of the beef between them and Lost Boys. Allegedly, other members of the Hellraisers were also also involved in the crime, with 24-year-old Ryan Fritsch being the getaway driver and Rasheem Fletcher providing the van used in the crime. Police investigation revealed that the feud between the Lost Boys and Hellraiser started a year earlier when an unarmed member of the Lost Boys was robbed. In retaliation, someone from the Lost Boys ordered the shooting of Michael Sunders. Sunders had nothing to do with the very robbery that he was killed for, and to avenge his senseless murder, his half-brother Kelvin decided he was going to make someone from the Lost Boys pay. That unfortunate soul turned out to be Freaky Tah, a man that didn't even know why he was being killed. Freaky Tah's death destroyed the Lost Boys. They never got over his death or experienced the same level of success that they had experienced with Freaky. Finally, 2 years after Freaky Tah's murder, the group split up. Number 15. Doughboy Rock. Doughboy Rock, or the self-proclaimed mayor of the Mo, was a lyrical genius signed to label CTE under the Detroit rap outfit Doughboy Cash Out, formed in 2006. Doughboy Rock was just starting to climb the fame ladder of the rap game under CTE when he was gunned down in broad daylight on October 9, 2017, while sitting in his car on the west side of Detroit. According to police reports, Doughboy was shot in his right ear and shoulder. No formal arrests have been made to this day, and the case is still unsolved. There are rumors that Doughboy Rock was involved in a drug dealing, and it had been speculated that his death has something to do with the drug deal gone bad. This is just speculation. However, we do know that at the time of his death, Doughboy Rock was under a DEA probe, and more than $55,000 of Doughboy Rock's money had been seized by the DEA 4 months prior to the killing. Assistant Oakland County Prosecutor Ann Gabbard wrote in a court filing that the money had been seized because investigators believed the cash was either going to be used to buy drugs or was linked to a drug deal. Could a lack of money resulting in a drug deal going bad have been the cause of his death? Number 16. Kid Hood. Kid Hood, or Troy Anthony Hall, was a rapper from Manhattan, New York, and the gruff behind Quest and the leaders of the New School's posse cut Scenario. Kid Hood only released one tape in his career, and that was Scenario, where he was a guest feature. Days before the release of his first track, Kid Hood was beaten and shot in the head in Harlem, New York. Kid Hood's death was also the reason behind Busta Rhymes' eulogy at the start of the track. 7 MCs is in the physical form and 1 in spiritual essence. Number 17. Young Dolph. Shot outside a bakery while getting cookies near his childhood home. No one could have predicted how legendary Memphis rapper Young Dolph's story was going to come to an end. Young Dolph was well known throughout Memphis for both his rap skills and his generosity. Young Dolph was the owner of Paper Route Empire and gave back to his community as much as he could. Dolph's producer had this to say about the rapper. Dolph was just so special. He would take the breath out of you. He was a real stand-up dude, and people love being around real people. He was serious. He gave you this deeper than music kind of touch. Dolph was visiting his childhood home and planning to do a turkey giveaway event when 2 masked assailants pulled up in a stolen white 2-door Mercedes-Benz, ran around the back of Dolph's custom camouflage Corvette, and opened fire on him. An autopsy later revealed that Young Dolph had been shot 22 times. Young Dolph died before he could be transported to the hospital. Details about the case haven't been released as of yet. However, 3 men have been charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Following Young Dolph's death, a section of his childhood street was named after him, and a private funeral was held where his fans and family came to pay their respects. It's pretty wild how many MCs have lost their lives to the game. But that's not all the crazy going on in hip-hop. Click a card on your screen and I'll tell you more about it.